On some courses, that would lead you to believe that it may suit a closer to go on the simplistic line.
Yeah.
They just take a bit of catching here, though, don't they? Even though there's a slight sort of incline towards the finish. And just talking to Tom Queally off air there, just after when he was weighing out for this race, about the previous winner, he just said that last little bit of a hill, he said you can hardly notice it sort of watching the race, but it is that he said it won him the race.
Yeah, exactly. That shot we just had on screen there about 10 seconds ago was gave you a really good idea of how quickly that bend comes, doesn't it?
Yes.
You know, you can see there, you can see how sharp that bend, or how quickly that bend comes, which is, it's got to be a big advantage being drawn low.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, in some ways, it may suit, or if you like, make it slightly fairer here, if they could angle these horses out to and race up the stand side even. Yeah. In some respect, but I don't know how you do that, in as much as that is the bend you're using for all races, so you'd have to trot down there and put a false rail on just for these. But if you know what I mean, if you put a kind of a shootout that they just angled them over to this side, you wouldn't have them nipping round the inner and gone, if you like.
No, and the other way that might come about is if they got very testing ground. We know what they do at Catch It when it gets very soft, they come stand side. It happens at York occasionally, doesn't it, as well, where they come up the middle or come stand side. So that's just something that might pan out. They've only had 4 meetings here, so it's very early days, but that might develop over the next few years.
Yes, it might well do. Majestic Mananan, I think it is, that they're loading at the moment, and he's proving just a tiny bit uncooperative. Looks like him, with Paul Hannigan bidding for a double, riding for Dandy Nichols, and he's a horse that's very capable on his day, Majestic Manan, and he's very quick too.
Very speedy horse, yeah. I remember him winning at Ponty last year. In fact, it might have been the Sunday meeting coming up when he won on the card last year. He's got loads of speed. It's just unfortunate for him in his connection as he stuck out widest in stall 10. But the Fat Paul's back on board, 1 from 1 on him. He rode him when he won at Yarmouth over 2 years ago.
Just mentioning that Sunday meeting at Pontefract, by the way, and if you tuned in when we were touching on the Sky Bet York Stakes, Brian Ellison has put Top Notch Tonto in that listed race at Pontefract on Sunday, just to give him one more option, because of the ground dependency with that horse. If it happened that there was heavy showers forecast for perhaps Saturday night or whatever, he may be swayed towards that. York is his first preference, but he wanted to give himself a second option, just if anybody was thinking about backing him and thinking he was bound for York at all costs. Ypres then is the 4-1 favourite, just ahead of C. Vermont, who's been a credit to Rebecca Bastiman, and the Bastiman yard, you know, has been sprinters all the way through, hasn't it? And condolences to the family, because Derek Bastiman, grandfather of Rebecca, died last week, and I remember him, you know, when I was impersonating a jockey, and he was a great character, and they've been a wonderful racing family for so long.
Yeah, associated with some really good sprinters, obviously Border Scott. He's been the real flag bearer, hasn't he, over the last few years? But this horse, 7-year-old now, but he's had a good season. He's won 3 from 8. He's progressing up the ranks. Really strong travelling horse. Probably 2 out today. There won't be a horse going better than him.
Ben Hall's not quite as big a price as I thought he would be.
No, especially after I said I fancied it. I thought I might have drifted badly, Tom. So, in theory, he should be dropped in, come off a strong gallop and get there. But he might be beaten after a furlong and a half, Tom, on that sharp bend.
But the one good thing, Mark, is that even though he's drawn wider than ideal, the fact that he is a hold-up horse, it might not impact on him as much as though if he was an out-and-out front runner.
Yeah, that was the thinking, along with obviously the handicap mark and signs at Ponty. There could be a day in him soon. So ratings-wise, he's absolutely thrown in, but you've got to be running at a decent level to back that up.
Yeah, in the foreground, circling in the cheek pieces there is C. Vermont, Paul Morenon on board. He'll be coming out of stall 6. And in the cross belts is Ypres with Ben Curtis, and coming out of stall 4, but they're taking a little bit of time to load up these handicappers. 5.5 furlongs, remember, here. So an in-between distance, and the last 2 going forward. Let's rejoin Malcolm.
Thank you, Tom. Just Ypres to come. Ypres goes in, and that's it. The setter race They're off. They race away then for the Pristine Cars SUV 4x4 Centre Wetherby Handicap Stakes. Good start, Lazy Sue, Perfect Words away well towards the inside. Majestic Manana prominent towards the outside as well. Harddeath showing plenty of dash with Steve Vermont, followed by Boxing Shadows on the rail. Ypres is next. Lady Poppy a bit outspeeded towards the back in company with Ben Hall, who's also sitting towards the back, and so too is Hardy Black. Down the straight they come back towards the final 3 furlongs already. Towards the far side, Perfect Words with the yellow cap. Lazy Sue in the royal blue jacket, C. Vermont the spotty jacket near side. Boxing Shadows pale blue cap just behind them with Ypres in the noseband. That's followed by Majestic Mananan, out wide then Ben Hall. Behind that one Hardy Black, Lady Poppy well back, so too Harddeath. Back towards the final furlong and a half, and it's Lazy Sue who's hit the front. Lazy Sue goes on to Perfect Words, scrapping away on the far side. C. Vermont with Ypres trying to finish off. Lazy Sue in front, Ypres now in the clear, tries to close inside the final half furlong. Lazy Sue being reeled in by Ypres, lashing home is Hardy Black on the outside. Ypres from Hardy Black nailed them. Ypres in second, far side was Lazy Sue, then C. Vermont.
Surf and turf.
Hardy Black wins for Kevin Frost at odds of 7-1, came home late and fast and did it in style under Stevie Donohoe. And you remember Kevin Frost, he had a winner at the Grand National meeting at Aintree with Surf and Turf. He hasn't got an awful lot of horses, but he's a very, very capable handler, flat and jumps. And this horse, he looked as though he was a winner waiting to happen at wins the last time out, I felt. And he's needed every yard of this 5.5.
Yeah, and he's come from stall 9 as well, so much for wanting a low draw, but a bit like the 2-year-old race, wasn't it, really, in the previous race? He's just nailed Ypres close home. He's come with a strong run down the outside, as you said, run well at Windsor the time before, narrowly matched with the runner-up on the previous start at Thirsk as well.
And no lack of pace, Mark. I mean, that was fairly obvious from the start. Holding that inside berth is Perfect Words with the yellow cap.
Yeah, well, look where the winner is now. He just had to be hunted along for a few strides, didn't he? He's last at this stage. Ben Hall's second last. Loads of pace early from the likes of Lady Sue. Perfect Words was fairly prominent, and also Boxing Shadows is fairly prominent on the inside.
You'd feel for Ypres, wouldn't you? I mean, it's a long time since this horse has got his head in front, a long losing run. He gets nailed at Thirsk last time out, mugged in the last stride, and here he only hits the front about 25 yards out and he still gets done. He
does, yeah, but even you wouldn't have fancied the winner at all at this stage, would he? He's
no.
Still in about 6th position. He's still got at least about 3 or 4 lengths to make up for on Lady Sue. Lazy Sue, who looks all set to follow up her win last time out, but pulled out down the outside, starts to charge home.
Well, I mean, Ypres I didn't think was going to get to Lady Sue, and then I didn't think the winner was going to get to Ypres, but you'll see this again, and I think what you may see here with the winner, just when Stevie pulls him out, he just falters for one stride, I think. But this is a similar finish to the last finish, Mark, in as much as the winner, once pulled out and sees daylight, flies home.
Absolutely flew home. You stop it a furlong out, you can't believe that Lazy Sue hasn't finished in the first 2. She set sail for home at this stage. Perfect Words has come under pressure. Winner's still got at least 5 or 6 horses.